All right, cool. If we're all set, let's go, as one would say, as Mario would say. You know, we're recording right now. Let's just dive right into it. Hey everyone, Andre here, along with Jake, Joey, and Tris, along with a face you may recognize, being Chris Carpenter, back to talk about the Mario movie. Chris, how have you been?
I've been great. Been doing movie stuff, game stuff, but you know what? This is the first time in a while that those two things have combined in such a special way. So I was like, hey, I wanna let's do some GameXplain action. So Andre, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk some Mario movie stuff.
Yeah, you hit us up literally as we were about to record, so it was perfect timing. So we are here, everyone, to talk about in-depth spoilers for the Mario movie. We are not holding back on anything. If you don't want spoilers, you should do two things. One, close this video right now. But two, hopefully you haven't yet, because you should go watch our other review video, which is absolutely no spoilers. Now you can tune out of this video. But for those of you who are still here, we're going to talk about everything, including post-credits, voice or character choices, plot points, everything here. Songs that may or may not appear. It's going to be busy. It's going to be a good time. So before we get to that, though, real quick, since we haven't had several of you on before for past discussions or the past review discussion, Chris, top-level thoughts. What did you think of the Mario movie?
Top level thoughts, I loved it. I'm moving right now, and I found some old drawings from when I was like 7 that are labeled Super Mario Movie.
So like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was plotting this out like years and years ago, and so the fact that it's here is really special to me personally. And I would say, you know, as a filmmaker and a storyteller, that aside, I would say the movie that we got is the one that my 6-year-old, 7-year-old self wanted the most. And so that was the part of me that felt the most just, you know, magical while I was watching this. So I really liked it.
So it lived up to your expectations?
It sure did, yes.
Awesome, cool. Joey, you also just saw the movie and have not talked about it yet on the channel. What did you think?
From the second the Illumination logo showed up, it was just a stupid smile on my face the rest of the 92 minutes.
Heck yeah.
I love this movie so much. Like, I know when I get this on video, it's going to be my comfort food for the next how many years. Seriously.
It's going to be what Avatar, The Way of Water was for me. It's
exactly.
For you. That's great. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
I love
right,
Andre.
Tress,
I feel like I'm on so many videos, and every single one you bring up Avatar. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Avatar comes up. But okay.
At least this one has a movie connection. So,
yeah, all right.
Triss, you also just got back from seeing the Mario movie. What did you think?
Oh, I loved this movie. I'm right there with Joey, where like as soon as it started up, like the very first part of it, immediately got that like silly smile on my face. But I also loved the fact that I did all those videos of like how is the movie gonna play out, like, you know, trying to piece together the plot, and it started exactly the way I thought it would. So I was like wow, like it's exactly how I predicted, but also I'm loving every moment of it. And I also just had that like silly smile the entire movie. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. I also had a silly smile. I caught myself with a dumb smile on my face during my second viewing last night at the midnight showing. I'm like, yep, I still love this movie. Still really good. Jake and I already talked in depth about this, so I'm not going to go too much into it right now. But Jake, you also just saw it for a second time, I believe. Now, during our first recording, you also loved the movie, it sounded like. However, I think you may have been a little bit more critical than I was at the time, but I'm curious how your opinion has changed, if any at all, upon the second viewing. How did you feel watching it again?
I think it intensified my feelings in both directions. I think the problems stood out even more, but also the key thing and the difference between the viewings was first viewing, I'm in there with all these old head movie reviewers. Second viewing, I'm in there with sweet babies that are going crazy.
It makes a difference. It helps.
And I was keyed in. I was like, what do they like? What's interesting to them? Have some crazy observations. But yeah, some of the story stuff I think I'm even more critical on than the last time we talked. We'll get to it. But
okay.
The ways in which this movie is successful, it is extremely successful. And I think it's not really getting as much love as it should in some regards.
Yeah, I agree. What's interesting is I think I feel similar to you, but in the opposite sense, where I felt like watching it again, the highs didn't hit quite as hard this time because I knew they were coming, but the lows actually I felt like worked better for me. Like my complaints I had before weren't gone entirely, but I felt like my issues were lessened by seeing it again. In any case, those are our top level impressions. It sounds like we all love it, if even to varying degrees slightly. Let's get into the spoilers then. And I don't know where to begin. What does anyone have a point they need to get out? Okay, Jake, let's Oh, actually,
Okay,
let's start.
okay.
Actually, let's start with Joey real quick. Sorry, since Joey's got a fresh one.
I
I'm
just
sure.
need to talk about that Illumination logo because I did not think that Nintendo would ever allow the minions anywhere near this movie, right? But the fact that they incorporated the Mario Kart like
Yep.
1, 2, 3, go.
That was
I was
cool.
just like, oh, we in for a treat,
Yeah.
baby. Let's do it.
No,
I was like, oh,
yeah.
you got me. I'm in. Exactly.
It's charming from the get-go, and I really do like that. It makes me afraid of the potential of Mario Kart DLC, but I do love I love
Oh.
the charm being there from the get-go.
And then seeing the Nintendo logo immediately after with the Mario and Luigi, pixel sprites,
Yeah.
like it's all so cute. And also, real quick, I love to. I was thinking this as it was happening the second time when it goes into the actual movie, and it's basically the snow scene we'd seen before. But there's no better way of immersing you into a movie than having wind sound effects at the very beginning. No music, just wind. That's what it does. Jake's like, what's he talking about? No, it works so well. They nailed it here. I'm instantly drawn into this world when I hear that wind.
Yeah,
In any
it's the
case,
wind, and then it's also like the really light font text of like Nintendo and Illumination presents or whatever it is that like fades in with the
Yeah.
clouds, and I'm like, ooh, this is nice. I like this.
it's classy, right? It's kind of like when you play Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, and you get that Nintendo Presents. When you see that, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're in for something good here. We're in something good. All right, Jake, let's get to your point. What did you want to bring up?
Peaches, 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 peaches. Yeah, I want to talk about Bowser singing. I feel like I have been, I saw this movie early, and I've been seeing comments for months of people being like, I'm so afraid this is going to be a musical. And this is really the only song that we get of anybody singing. It's something that Jack Black probably made up in about 4 minutes. And, he sings it for maybe 25 seconds. Did people here like Peaches?
I thought it was hilarious. I enjoyed the energy coming off of Bowser and Jack Black's performance from it because it's very silly, but there's like every little animation Bowser has as he sings that. There is so much put into that I almost wonder, since I think it was even established like Jack Black was the one to push to have this like put in, and you even say he probably just came up with the song really quickly. But in contrast, I wonder how long it took them to animate it as well as they did.
Here's what I
lips.
think happened. I feel like they recorded Jack Black performing this song. Like, he was playing that piano. He's musically gifted. I gotta think, like, they didn't mocap him, but they straight up, like, recorded and performed the song, and they, like, animated, like, what he was doing. That's what I think happened.
I see.
Whoa.
So you liked it, Joey. Joey, you liked it.
Oh yeah, I really liked it. It was really enjoyable. At first I was like, okay, they're gonna be doing this thing, whatever. But the more he kept singing, and the more like he was like raising his voice and like waving it around, bringing it places, I was just like, yep, downloading this right now. Spotify, where you at?
Make that your ringtone.
Yes.
Chris, were you feeling it?
Oh, I was feeling it. I was feeling it big time. It also, I felt like it didn't go on as long as it could have too. Like, it stopped before the point where it could have been too much. Which I was happy with too. And like the PNGs of Peach, like cutting in and fading in around like while he was playing, it was perfect. It was just right, I thought.
And just for clarity's sake, they were fully animated versions of Peach, so that had to have been a lot of work for a single scene to have the same character rendered multiple times.
Yeah.
Jake, to your point, I think I bumped up against the scene initially more for what it represented than what it was. I think the song itself is hilarious. I love it. It doesn't go on too long, especially with how it leads in the next scene where he's jamming on the piano with Kamek.
Yep.
Bloody hilarious. I love that. It's so good. But I think my issue, and it speaks to a broader point, and again, I felt this more in the first viewing than the second, is the nature of Bowser's motive this time, where it is very clearly Peach first. He just wants to marry her. Like, Bowser almost comes across like as an incel in this movie. Like this loser, this sad loser who just wants to date Peach. And at the end of the movie, he explicitly says something to the effect of, "I've never been happy. Now you're going to struggle like me or
You're
something
gonna suffer
like that.
like me."
Suffer like me. And like I started feeling bad for him. Like, damn, what's this guy been through? Jesus. But so my bumping up against it initially was that this guy's just weirdly obsessed with Peach in a way that it kind of reminded me of Mario Odyssey's ending, which I thought was funny and I enjoyed it at the same time. Like, they're going way hard in on this whole marrying Peach thing, and and I felt like it kind of took away a little bit from the way they presented Bowser in the trailers. Maybe that's why I bumped up against it, because what's interesting is when you watch some of those scenes in the movie, you can tell exactly where they cut out. They cut out all mentions of Peach from Bowser originally. They did not clue you in at all that he wants to marry her, and I don't know why they hid that exactly. But I think watching it again, I was less jarred by the tonal shift that I didn't expect was coming, rather.
Everyone loved that scene of him sitting next to Kamek at the piano, right?
So funny.
Of the da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
That was,
Yes.
what a great visual, what a great idea. I think a lot throughout this review, we're all gonna kind of maybe have criticisms of quote unquote writing, but I just want to shout that out because creating that scenario is writing. And that's like a really like clever idea that the way they did it, I thought was really unique and special. And given the music was a great way to implement this kind of like Easter egg or reference that a lot of the audience is going to be familiar with without it just being there. Without,
Right.
it being an element with texture. I think that went a long way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think speaks to a broader issue as well, is that, as paper thin or shallow, whatever word you want to apply to the overall story, there's not a ton to it. But I think there is something to be said for how they managed to, take this series has been around for decades, literally 4 decades at this point, and combine and have it all make sense. Like they took the best elements from everything, put it together in a way that's largely cohesive, and it works, even if it's still simple. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about the Kongs having, Karts be their. I mean, having that be paired with the Kongs is a weird choice, but it kind of works regardless. And I think it helps if you don't fully think about some things too much, as Joey was saying earlier. But I think, I want to give the credit to like being able to set the situations using all these largely separated, independent elements, and it just ended up working as well as it did is impressive. And kind of to that point, one of my favorite things that from early on, once we found out, is I loved that they start off in the real world setting. They're taking it back to Brooklyn, New York. We're having Mario and Luigi existing, independent of the Mushroom Kingdom before they get introduced to that world as a, isekai story? Is that how you say
Isekai,
it?
yeah.
Isekai, yeah, nailed it. What did we think of that? How did we think of that whole opening sequence, largely, with the real world segment?
I thought it was great how they started it off in the Mushroom Kingdom first,
Right.
just to establish, hey, this is a world that exists somewhere else. Now we're going to cut to the real world. It's kind of almost in a way like the Mario Bros. Movie from 1993 handled it a little bit, but not to the extent of like having it be set there first.
Yeah, and shout out to how they do that transition where Bowser's literally asking who's going to stop me, then they cut to this goofy Mario and Luigi commercial.
It cuts
Yeah.
to the Super
Yes.
Mario Bros.
Which-
commercial.
Which
is
that
so
line was different, by the way. I don't know if anyone noticed, but he
Yeah,
didn't
I
say,
noticed
"Now
that too,
who's gonna
Chris.
Stop
Yeah.
me?" It's
He said
no
nobody's
one can
going
stop
to...
me or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Interesting. Who knows why?
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I thought it was great. The start of the movie was great, and I gotta say, I feel like I went into the movie knowing a lot of the criticisms that we've seen from critics, and I've heard that the pacing is too fast, or it's just very fast. Nothing really like sits and processes for a moment.
Right.
And I do agree with that in some instances, but I actually think the hardest act to get right is Act 1, and I thought this was a rare example of a movie that you can tell they're trying to get through Act 1 as efficiently as possible, like basically get to the Mushroom Kingdom, because that's what
Right.
everyone wants to see. But it didn't, to me at least, the beginning of the movie didn't feel like the editing or the pacing suffered from it. Like it wasn't like, okay, stuff was clearly cut out because we're trying to get to the good stuff. It was just, no, I think it was actually written pretty efficiently, those opening 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Getting us to the warp pipe.
I
and
felt
everything.
like the pacing really suffered when like they had moments that could have been like, okay, let's chill out for a second. Like when DK and Mario got swallowed by that eel, which lasts a grand total of like 30 seconds. That was bizarre, I thought.
Right.
And then like Donkey Kong and Mario all talk about like, oh, let's we don't want to like disappoint our fathers or whatever. And then oh, hey, we're out of here. I'm just like, whoa. That was a moment. That could have
Yeah.
been a moment, and it wasn't.
It was mostly towards the middle, I think, where a lot of those problems happen. Because I'm definitely with Chris, where I think the opening, like 10 minutes, like everything in the real world at the start, I actually think was paced like really, really well. Like I don't think they
Yeah.
left anything out that I was left wondering. I think they even managed to work in like the Pauline cameo, for example.
Oh,
they,
yeah.
They worked in like some really good ways to even still get references. Kid Icarus, by the way, can't believe that. But they managed to get in moments like that didn't necessarily feel as shoehorned as they could have been. While they didn't feel like they interrupted the pacing, and there was nothing in the beginning that already felt like it was sprinting towards something.
And that Kid Icarus moment, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, that Kid Icarus moment served a narrative purpose too, because he got a game over and said, "You're finished," and that's how Mario felt in that moment.
Oh my god, I love that. And watching it again, there are a few moments like that do call back to earlier, like how this one's more obvious, but like when Peach says to Mario at some point, like, "You just never quit," and that comes up again during the final battle with Bowser. And and I think I picked up more on some of those smaller moments, like on my second viewing, which like flew by the first time, like, and I think could have still been paced better. I wish we had spent more time with them, like just a little bit more time with them as babies, for instance. But that's like a 15-second scene. It's like, that's actually a really cute, adorable scene. I appreciated it more the second time. And I think what I actually liked more watching it all over again was just the relationship that Mario and Luigi have. Like, and that's something we actually don't see that much in the games. Really, mostly we see it in the Mario and Luigi games. But outside of that, it's something we really don't see. But one person's Mario, one person's Luigi, and that's it. So I love that we got more of that bonding, and they really dialed in on that when they could. And that's why I think the ending actually hit me even harder the second time, actually. One of the few points that did. Because you really kind of appreciate like what they've gone through and what they mean to each other. And I really love that. I was like, oh man, and real quick, I'm kind of jumping around here, but before I forget, during that whole ending sequence, we see Mario with like a black eye. I'm like, Jesus, like that was actually hard for me to see. Like this character I've grown up with, like taking a physical beating.
Fitting that he was in the Punch-Out Pizzeria when he was sitting there with all that. Very
perfect.
fitting.
There was a point when he's sitting there and he lifts his hand up and kind of does this or something, like scratches his nose or something. He's in pain, and I was expecting to see blood on the hand or something. I was just like, I don't know, something about seeing him with the black eye and stuff. I was like, whoa, wait. But no, they obviously didn't do that.
Can we close read this moment a little bit, because this is one of my biggest gripes with the movie, actually.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the pacing in the beginning, and I think I actually disagree with the room here. I thought that the that fast pace, the efficiency in which they were able to get things done. Chris, I think I kind of agree with you, where I could sense a little bit of in the scripting phase, this was probably done in a million different ways, a million different times, trying to get it where there's 12 things we need to tell our audience.
Yeah.
How do we get boom, 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 which of course, like you and I think are probably super familiar with that challenge. But when he is sitting there and he is having his, Andre, I described this to you as the Spider-Man under the rubble moment. That's where he's got to have an emotional catharsis so that he can push through and accomplish the end goal. The thing that pushes him forward, the vehicle, is him seeing that commercial from the beginning of the movie. And that to me was symbolic of how poorly things in this movie were set up. I was like, you're telling me the what's gonna push you to having your big moment, the thing that you set up earlier, is we're gonna save Brooklyn in a commercial? Like, come on. There was so many misses here in terms of like Mario is a guy that never quits. Mario just keeps going no matter what. And they wanted to latch onto that, but we don't actually ever dramatize and get to see that in a meaningful way. We don't get to see maybe Bowser use the star, exhaust everybody, everyone want to quit, and then Mario go, no. We keep going. We don't quit. Same thing with Luigi. Luigi, you're always afraid, you're always afraid, you're always afraid, and then he conquers his fear off screen. And he shows up for some reason. He conquered that feeling and he made it forward. It would have been so much more impactful if we see Mario in trouble from Luigi's perspective and we see him pull himself out of the dumpster and go, we're safe when we're together, and rush into that battle to save his brother, but we don't get that either. And these are little tweaks to what I think the movie wants to accomplish. I'm not trying to rewrite the movie. I really think that there are like ways in which they could have tuned this a little bit better to make these things actually fold over and get you to the feelings that it wants to evoke.
Yeah, I agree, and it's unfortunate because so many of those pieces are there. Like they're established, or they're established, but they aren't really paid off well. Or I think actually more often than that, they're pretending something is being paid off when it wasn't actually established well to begin with, but also we didn't stack the pieces correctly to get to this point and earn it anyways.
That's
so,
what
yeah,
I'm thinking. Yeah, like there's definitely, it feels like they have the pieces of the puzzle there, but they didn't necessarily put them together the right way. Like I'm definitely with what you're saying, Jake, on especially like the commercial at the end. Like I love that he has that moment in the pizzeria that they started in, but I don't like that what the motivator was. We're gonna save Brooklyn from the commercial. I thought when him seeing the commercial was gonna focus in on, wait, Luigi's out there still. I need to go help my brother. I thought it was gonna be about that. But then it focuses a little more in on the commercial side of it and the hero he wants to be. And I'm like, well, I mean, I see what they wanted to do there. I don't necessarily agree with the way it was executed there, but...
Yeah, and I would even say, I feel like one of the big reasons they even had them show up in Brooklyn at the end, like bring all the Mushroom Kingdom assets into the real world, was to try and accomplish that payoff of like, oh, it's because we said save Brooklyn in the beginning of the movie, and so now we're doing that.
Wow, Chris, I did not even think of that. Jeez, oh my God, absolutely not.
I wanted to ask too, just what did everyone think in general of the idea of going back to Brooklyn at the end? I liked, I'll just say I liked the idea. It just didn't really like.
I don't get the point. I
would
mean,
love for that to be saved for movie 2, like
perhaps. Yeah,
just...
I did think it was kind of bizarre at first. I was like, oh, why are they going back to Brooklyn? And also, like, I didn't really get what happens at the end. Like, did the Mushroom Kingdom and Brooklyn for sure like merge together? Because it could have been. It looked like it could have been that they went back to the Mushroom Kingdom. I didn't really get what was going on there because I don't recall seeing any like Brooklyn architecture mixed with Mushroom Kingdom. It looks like they went back?
It looks like they went back, but there's now like a clear established connection they can go to and from because the worlds kind of merged to a degree.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's an interesting sequel too, actually, but that's a different...
I didn't think of that either. Yeah, I just kind of figured... I figured everybody was just going to drop it and be like, man, yesterday was weird.
So, I mean, I think the purpose for going back to Brooklyn was to close the loop, the situation that they had created both with Mario's family and with Spike from the Wrecking Crew.
That's true.
Where they needed them to see something that the brothers had did to earn their respect or prove that they, whatever it was, that to prove they were no longer the thing worth making fun of or worth demeaning in whatever way. So I think that's why they did it, and it also ties back into that saving Brooklyn thing you had mentioned as well.
They got the nod of approval from the dog.
They did.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Isn't that all we need at the end of the day? Just a nod of approval from the dog.
That dog was insane. Let me tell you. The fact when that dog like stared them down and kicked the door closed, I was like, oh my God. That's just way too intense. What is this, The Secret Life of Pets 3?
Exactly.
Guys, I hate that dog. I hate that dog. That dog represents everything wrong with this movie for me. I feel like it was this weird moment where I was like, illumination.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And here's... And even taking like a storytelling approach to it, Andre, I think I mentioned this to you. I found it weird that the dog wasn't a cat as a way of informing Mario getting the cat suit later and being like, oh, we saw a cat doing crazy things early in the movie. Like that's one way you could have done it. Yeah, but then the second way you could have done it is we're trying to make a point about Luigi's fear, but Luigi's fear is not the problem with the dog. The problem is that the dog is crazy.
Yeah.
So if we want to make a point about Luigi's fear, have Luigi overreact to the dog, cause all of the plumbing problems, and actually demonstrate for the audience why Luigi's fear is something that needs to be conquered. Because as the movie stands right now, Luigi's fear only ever shows up in areas where it's completely reasonable, justified, and doesn't really further any of the dramatic stakes.
Are you telling me you're afraid of dry bones, Jake? No one's afraid of dry bones. Come on.
I was just going to mention, I don't know if this is an intentional connection or not, but I just realized that Luigi's the one that breaks the dog bone, and then he immediately gets thrown into the situation with all these bones, which is... and he then goes on to break some of them too, so...
Hey, that's true.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie, actually, is when Bowser, gets upset and breathes fire on a Koopa Troopa, instantly turning him into a dry bones.
That was hilarious.
So good.
I need to talk about two of my favorite laughs from the movie. When they're driving through the Donkey Kong world and a car gets hit by a banana peel and freaking explodes. I'm like, oh my god,
That's so good.
This dude just committed a murder like it was nothing. That was and Crystal and I got a huge laugh out of when like the toads were evacuating, and then one of them drops the apples, and the other one, and they're trying to save the apples, and the other toad's like, "It's not worth it, just go."
Oh yeah,
that sent me. Sent me.
This movie is surprisingly funny. Like I think that's partly why it's just a fun thorough ride. Like we can sit here forever nitpicking the story beats and how it's not emotional enough and whatever else. At the end of the day, I had a ton of fun at this movie. I don't care if it's not Citizen Kane or whatever else. You know, I don't need it. I don't need Luigi to break down into tears about being scared. You know, maybe it'll make it better.
That's not what
maybe
I'm asking for. I'm
not saying you were. I'm just saying in general. I just want my point more is just to stress that regardless of what the movie isn't, what it is a just absolute thrill ride that had me engrossed the entire way through. Maybe that says more about my mental state, but I don't care. I had total fun as a lifelong Mario fan here. The way they realize this world is so well done. And I also want to touch on one of my favorite jokes actually too, is during the Donkey Kong battle when Donkey Kong like basically uppercuts Mario, whatever. Mario sends Mario flying into the sky.
Yes.
It goes in slow motion. He's like, "It's a me." It's just so funny to reply to Peach.
Peach goes, "Mario, it's a me." And I was gone. I was out.
I lost it.
I want to stress too, by the way, I love that they use the overdone voices in the commercial. I love that they actually did that, and they even commented like,
that they addressed it.
Is it a bit much? I don't know. What do you think?
Yes.
I really like that they did that.
You know,
It's a
this might be a good
thing.
segue into a larger cast point, but I also love to that point too, Tris, that they made how they incorporated Charles Martinet.
Yes.
And I think probably the two most perfect ways, short of actually making him Mario himself. One, he is literally a Jumpman stand-in in this game. He's the original Mario, basically personified in the movie. Love that. Second is he's literally Mario's dad, using a very different voice, effectively making him the father of Mario. That's adorable. I love it. I think that is honestly, I can't think of a more respectful way of having the Mario voice actor introduced in this movie, again, without actually making him Mario himself.
Yeah, I just hope he comes back as Wario and Waluigi in the sequel.
Same.
That's all I want. That's all I want. Yeah, and it's wild. We see Mario and Luigi's family. Have we ever seen that in a video game? I don't think we have we?
Nope.
That's crazy to me, I think.
The closest thing we've seen are the parents from Yoshi's Island. Where we see their lower bodies when the babies
the old
arrive.
babies.
yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah,
I remember
same.
You know, shout out to this movie for finally fixing that storyline. I hate it. I've always hated it. I hate the storks. I hate the babies. I hate them being delivered in the Mushroom Kingdom. It's like, no, Mario and Luigi are from New York. That's how it is, and I'm glad they fixed
Well,
that.
no, Andre. We could still tie it in.
No,
that's what I
don't
think.
you dare. Don't you dare.
I think it still happened. They
Yeah,
just
me too.
somehow ended up, they don't remember.
This
Honestly.
Yoshi shows up in the sequel, and Mario like touches his nose and is like, "I remember."
Oh my gosh.
No.
Like a Breath of the Wild memory moment.
This does beg the question though, because I know we had the whole thing with Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, and we had their scene, which I thought was actually very cute. But this does make me want to ask you guys, what did we think of Peach's origins? Where they actually explored it a little bit. They showed Baby Peach like coming through the pipe, and the Toads are like, she's amazing, and then they like
Chris,
they raised her, and
when
then she became their princess. It's not a lineage that she came from. It's not something she inherited.
Yeah.
She just somehow ended up there. She doesn't even know how. The Toads don't even know how, and they celebrated her. Jake, you're
Tris, do you remember when we talked about this in a discussion?
Mm-hmm.
We were literally like, they have to explain why she is tall and pretty.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? It's like, it's too weird. You can't just ignore that she's just like hanging out there. But that's funny, Tris. I kind of like, now that you mention it, that she is not like just like a royal.
Yeah.
Because like, who wants that? You know, it's like a reverse Tarzan situation.
Right.
And now she's like in civilization. But it's cool to me how they actually have something here that could be expanded upon in a sequel or in another piece. You know, because there's actually not too many of those things throughout this movie. I think less than you would expect. And this is one that I feel like they didn't overplay it. It came at a natural moment. I liked the little scene. It was very like Wonder Woman, Paradise Island, that like very few getting the challenges, doing that kind of thing, being strong, being cool. And I thought that was actually a really like artfully done moment. I really like that for her. But honestly, everything with Peach in this movie killed.
Yeah, she's great. And go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say I feel the same way, and I also think that the actress performed that well. She was just great throughout the whole movie, but especially that moment where she's talking about her past. I was like, ooh, there's something there. Like she's performing these lines in a way. She's not just like telling a story, but I mean, like there's totally more that they could explore there emotionally. Which, like again, it's not the point, but it was nice. It was nice to just have that moment of like, ooh, yeah. It reminded me of Rosalina's storybook a little bit, where we didn't actually really see much. It was just these kind of vignettes, these images. But it was really powerful what was there, and it would be cool to see that explored more.
It's funny you mentioned Rosalina, because I wonder if they aren't trying to tie it into that in some way, because they mentioned early on that Peach is human, which that surprised me. I'm like, okay, they're confirming that she is in fact a human, and then of course they have the baby scene later on confirming that she entered this world and became, they made her their princess, which I also quite liked as well. But they explicitly draw a reference to the fact that they don't know if she's from Earth or not. Yep. They don't know if she's from the same world as Mario and Luigi. And she also has a line later on, she talks about it being a big universe, or the law of galaxies. And I think they may be tying her into. Sorry?
It's in the same scene. Mario,
same scene, yeah.
Yeah, Mario even mentions that maybe you're from my world. She goes, well, there's a lot of galaxies out there, so yeah.
Yeah, which is such a thought-provoking response, because she's not saying yes or no. She's just saying...
Right, so that's a fun mystery. So maybe they are trying to tie her into like the Rosalina origin in some way. I don't know how, but it's interesting that they're playing it up. I just love that they addressed it at all.
Yeah.
Like a question I've had before in the past, but kind of forgot about. I'm like, oh, cool, they addressed it. I think that's a stronger thread to follow up on than the one they actually end with in the post credits, which we'll get to soon, I'm sure.
Andre, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it.
Our post credits time.
Is this the worst post credit scene any of us have seen in a long time? I was like, for some reason, I had convinced myself moments before that I was about to see Wario, and I was titillated. I was on the edge of my seat going, it's a time, baby. And I don't know why, but then the Yoshi egg shows up, and I'm like, okay, we saw Yoshi's, and we saw Yoshi eggs a couple times in the movie.
Right.
So what's the new thing gonna be here? And I was like, oh my god, it's happening. Tom Holland as Yoshi. It's happening. They're gonna reveal the voice. And then for it to cut and we don't even get like a closer look at it, and it's just like the Yoshi sound, I was let down. I was let down.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with our expectations. And I think for some reason I thought it was gonna be tied into like a Luigi's Mansion movie or something. Because I could have sworn like Charlie Day hinted at that or something.
I think just like he wants to do one. I think.
Yeah, but he mentioned, I don't remember. I just read headlines. I'm part of the problem, everyone. But I was kind of just like, I enjoyed the movie anyway, so I'm not too like let down by this post-credit scene.
They were trying to have a Tails moment from Sonic the Hedgehog, and they didn't quite hit it. I mean, I think for two reasons. One, I think they shouldn't have teased it at all. The fact that we knew to expect something just automatically raised expectations higher than they should have been.
Yep.
But they could have delivered it better if they just had not shown the Yoshis. I don't even know why they had the Yoshis there. They're there for a single scene. They don't do anything. And I actually have no idea why they were there. Like, I don't know why. So
that actually is like my complaint about the movie is that journey they took to the Jungle Kingdom should have been like even just a 5-minute scene, a scene that actually showed the journey, because it really was just a slideshow of look at these places we went to. Did anything happen on the journey? And that's I understand that's the thing. It's like I would have liked to see either like just small moments like Peach, Toad, and Mario like bonding as friends even, which the trailer had. Like the trailer literally had the scene where like the fish grabs Mario's face and they're all like, oh my god, we gotta go help him, and then like they all like struggle to pull it off him. That wasn't in the final film.
Yeah, what happened to that scene?
We need to get to Donkey Kong.
If they just had if they just had like even just a small scene like that in each of the places they went to, something to imply that they did more than walk through these places. Like,
and this relationship is growing.
Yeah, that the relationship is growing, the friendship is growing. That, I think, would have helped a lot of, like, the middle pacing problems of the movie. Because they're in such a rush to get to the key points that these smaller ones don't get the time they need to breathe. And it would have been really good to like learn why they went by an area with Yoshis. What if they took Yoshis to get there faster at one point? Like, what if they had to ride across Yoshis? Just something small to show why they're going to these different areas, going through to the Jungle Kingdom, which, now thinking on it, when it was displayed on the map, it was like the other side of the world island.
Yeah.
And not once did we see them cross water. Like, we could have gotten something. Come on. That's my complaint there, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good edit too, and I think even if it doesn't necessarily like bring out stuff in the story, I think what it really is a missed opportunity to have some like fun visual things. Because you're right, why do we see the Yoshis just kind of run by instead of like Mario, Peach, and Toad like get off a couple of Yoshis and be like, thanks guys.
Yeah.
Why we know that Toad like cooks and he has his frying pan ready. Why don't we see Toad like cook him a little meal? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like a lot of movies, there's like a trope of like the campfire scene, and it's like, okay, this is where we isolate some of our character values and stuff like that.
We do kind of have that a little bit.
We almost got that, but it wasn't
the fire flowers.
Quite. Yeah, with the fire flowers. But like, but it wasn't even handled the same way, or to the full extent it could have been there. So it's, I don't know. I guess it doesn't feel quite believable how much Mario, Peach, and Toad bonded on this adventure, because we just don't see enough of it.
Yeah, Toad just like embraced Mario as his best friend like immediately, and Mario's like, are we really best friends? So I don't know, I just rolled with it. You know, I mean, I guess being so familiar with these characters at this point, like I just accept them as friends anyway. So it might be weird if you have any much friction there. Although I guess we do have a lot of friction between Mario and Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And I do think one of the funniest things, one of the funnier scenes I thought was when Donkey Kong is jealous of Mario for allegedly flirting with a princess, and then Toad just rolls up. He's like, Mario can totally get the princess, okay? Putting DK in his place.
Yeah, I like that moment too, Andre. I feel like Toad, with me, I think Toad gets lost in the latter half of the movie, but I'm also like a little bit like, I think Toad's whole thing is that he was like the brave Toad. And that needed to be brought out a little bit more, but also I think it's a little bit in conflict with what we're supposed to be reading about Mario, Luigi, Peach, and those things are all like a little too close to each other, so they don't really get the opportunity to grow in their own directions.
Right.
But I really wish there was a scene in this movie that like wasn't quite there, where remember when like Mario and Donkey Kong have fallen off Rainbow Road, and Peach and Toad go back to the Mushroom Kingdom. Everybody's evacuating.
Yep.
And Peach like gets that spear thing, and she's like, okay, we're gonna like fight or whatever. Yeah. And Toad pulls out his frying pan, and he's like, okay, we're gonna go. I wish that there was maybe like a little more. Bowser shows up, there's a fight, really wrecks things, and you have, okay, now all the Toads are leaving, and our Toad can have a moment to say, I'm staying with you.
Yeah.
I'm not like the rest of them. I am a special Toad, and I'm gonna have a moment to show who, like, that I am different, that I am not gonna let anybody hurt you. I wish they phrased it different than that, by the way. I thought that was a little like Toad being chauvinistic here for no reason. But there was just like little things like that where I'm like, man, Peach like picks up that halberd and doesn't use it.
Yep.
Dang.
There was this one mystery I wanted resolved in the story that I think I realized after, is how did they get to the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place? I mean, we see how, through a warp pipe. Why though? Like, why that warp pipe? What caused it to become active? I think that could have been maybe explained at all, and especially by way of like, hey, maybe we know when to attack. We need help from anywhere. Like, maybe we can try connecting it to the outside world or to another world and see what happens, you know? I think that might have been a fun way of explaining it. They don't address it at all, whether it regards to how Mario and Luigi or Peach gets to there. Yeah.
It's true.
That's an interesting idea, Andre. Yeah, oh, please, Drew.
It's true, because that pipe in the Mushroom Kingdom specifically is just there, out. Like, anyone can get to that. It's not like it's an abandoned area. It's not like the one Luigi ends up falling out of, where it's in an area that clearly people aren't just going to be wandering through. Where, at least with Mario and Luigi, with where they went down into the depths of the Brooklyn sewers, you can kind of reasonably believe, okay, people don't come down here. This place is like abandoned. They even say that, so people don't just constantly fall into this pipe that's always there. It's just another one of the portals to another world, you know, like the warp pipes. But we don't really get a we don't really get any more of that. We don't see other warp pipes that lead to other areas as well. We only get this one that leads Mario to the Mushroom Kingdom and Luigi to, like, the Darklands or whatever it's called. And, I mean, there's probably other warp pipes around, but nothing's known about that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that sequence a little weird, the fact that we have a sewer problem in Brooklyn that is actually unrelated to the pipes that Mario and Luigi will be traveling to get to the Mushroom Kingdom? It's like they just happen to have this confluence of events happen at the same time. Andre, I kind of like your idea of doing like a little Star Wars-y-esque thing where it's like, okay, we're activating the pipe to Earth that has not been active, and it
Right.
you know what I mean, and it causes problems in the sewer, which then makes the plumbers go check it out. Mario and Luigi brings them to the brings them to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah.
But this is also, I feel like this is a part of a section of problems in this movie that are just kind of the how much do you want to think about it problems. And
basically
like,
it, yeah.
And we can go through a lot of these. Why do the Penguins have the Oni Power Star? Why don't they use it to stop Bowser? Would there ever be a better time to use it than then?
Yeah, right.
Why doesn't Bowser ever use the Power Star? What's
Cinema
he saving it
sins
for?
over here.
Oh, they're
What's
gonna,
he-
yeah, they're gonna have a field day with this.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there's a bunch of nobody reacts enough also to like Mario being from Earth and like being different from everybody else, and the ways in which characters will meet each other, immediately accept their existence, and then move to the next thing. It's like I feel like all of this stuff is just like, well, I mean, like, do you want to think about this? Because we don't. And then
I disagree
think
with the
it's-
Mario one specifically because throughout his whole journey in the Mushroom Kingdom specifically, he is getting constant weird looks from Toads. And Toads that just look like really disapprovingly at him. Not just because who is this guy, but there's also that whole like strangeness of like he's with the princess, he's weird, and Peach even had the whole another human. Like but I don't think they wanted to make it something that was constantly going on of just who is this guy? Like, I don't think they wanted to keep that going for too long, but...
I wish they had an act, though. I wish they had who is this guy? Let's tell him that let's, like, you know what I mean? There's a way to dramatize it that isn't just set dressing, and I feel like the performances that they were giving of, like, oh, this guy's weird. I'm over it. I kind of felt that that's what,
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's clear to me, and I think this might be partly just why I think it succeeded as well as it has, and not that, again, it couldn't be done better in some, maybe perhaps even many respects. But I think this is, we said it before, Jake, in our previous review, like, this is a game that's not ashamed at all of its source material.
A game.
It doesn't care about having video game-like elements in the story, or having a narrative of a similar caliber. Like, it's clear, like, they were just kind of like, hey, what would a Mario game be like if it were in a film-like setting? And I think that's actually why I just really enjoyed it. Like, you're just along for the thrill ride. You're not, like, during Mario Odyssey, you're not asking, why am I in this New York, like, appropriated Mushroom Kingdom version thing? You know, you're just along, you just accept it. And I think that's kind of how I felt with the Mario movie. And that's why I think critics, in particular, ones who aren't video game fans, are bumping up against it, because you do kind of need that knowledge, that background going into it to, I think, appreciate it for what it is. So that's why I said before, like, I don't know if I would say this is a great movie, a great standalone movie, but I think it's a great Mario movie. And yeah, there's elements they could have done better. In the moment, I didn't really care. You know, I was having so much fun just seeing the stuff realized in such a loving way, and the way that they just, you know, presented this really abstract, weird world. Like, when you think about it, the Mushroom Kingdom's a weird freaking place, and the way they presented it is beautiful. And I love seeing how Mario adapted to it. Early on, especially, like I almost get chills, like, you know, when Toad enters the clear pipe, and then we see Mario like just dealing, like, questioning everything about this. And I just thought that was all just very beautifully done. You know, I mean, like, that was pitch perfect for me.
Andre, I hear you. There is an evocation of, like, what's happening in your mind when you're playing a video game that's happening here. And I almost wonder what it would be like if they pulled on that thread a little bit more, actually, because it's like, do we need Peach to say, we need the Kong army to stop Bowser's army? Because that's not true. So, you know what I mean?
The connections between the key plot beats are probably the weakest point of the movie, I think. It's like they just say what they need to do and then they go do it, but you don't get a whole lot of explanation for why. why specifically do you need the Kong army? Why can't you do it? How do you know you can't do it yourselves? Or
Yeah, why or
But
why
do
not?
kids want to hear that?
they don't, exactly. And to be honest, in the moment, I didn't really care much either. So
There you go.
it's only when
which
you
is-
dissect it really after that you really start thinking about it. But
Yeah.
What do
That's
we
exactly
think-
Why,
Go ahead.
That's exactly why I feel like I said earlier. I do think the movie moved quick, but it didn't. At least to me, in the moment for most of it, I didn't feel that like it was frantically edited or frantically paced.
Like
I
Rise
still-
of Skywalker, exactly.
Right. It didn't feel like, oh my gosh, these cuts are happening, 5 frames too fast each, and it's just like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I didn't feel that kind of whiplash. It was more just like, okay, I can tell what they're trying to do here. They're just not trying to think about certain things too much and just roll with it and go. It still, to me, felt like a smooth experience, which I
Right.
almost prefer over something that feels like it was trying to, be saved in the edit or changed into something, other than what it started as.
Chris, I hear you. There is something to be said for the smoothness of the experience, because I definitely do look for things sometimes like, a really good example. Mario doesn't like mushrooms.
Yep.
Funny idea. We bring it up once at dinner. Okay, we see it happen. Great. We bring it up a second time when he's trying the power-ups, and I go, oh my god, I can't wait to see how this is going to pay off, what the big joke is going to be, and then it never gets mentioned again. And
I think that
no
was the
mega
big
mushroom.
joke there when he's puking over the edge of the balcony, which I thought was funny.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny too. I kind of thought that moment it was kind of like a rules of 3 situation where
Right,
I kind of
yeah.
expected it to pay off in
Yeah.
the story in a way that I thought was kind of, and it might have shown up 3 times. If it did, I'm sorry. But to me, it reminded me of, really quick, the Suicide Squad movie that everybody makes fun of. I used to use this in my screenwriting classes. There's a character who drops a stuffed unicorn and he puts it in his jacket. And we're all like, oh, that's weird. And then it happens again, and you see that unicorn, and you go, oh my god, it's going back in the jacket again. And then later in the movie, that character gets stabbed in the chest, and he's okay. And he pulls out a wad of cash. No! You did the unicorn! And it wasn't, I just don't understand. And for me, the mushroom was kind of like that. I was like, there's gonna be a thing, that thing, and it's gonna pay off, and it's gonna be the mushroom thing, and it didn't come, and I was disappointed.
Right.
How do you think Miyamoto reacted when he saw that joke? Mario, my baby boy, not liking mushrooms?
Yeah.
I want to know what Miyamoto's reaction were to some of these
funny,
jokes.
Joey.
Or like him reacting to, why would you put "I'm holding out for a hero" to the end of the night in my movie? That's what I want to know. So much pop music.
I need to stress too about the song choices. Holding out for a hero during the training montage, totally like within realm of my expectations. I kicked it. I'm like, okay, you know what? I can accept that. Take on Me starting playing when they're driving through the Jungle Kingdom. I was not ready for that. That took me me out for a second. I was so confused.
Yeah.
That was bizarre.
No, but you liked it, right?
I liked it. It was just I was not ready for that. I was ready for Holding Out for a Hero, because okay, Mario, this is when he's becoming a hero. Yeah, that's within my realm of expectations. Take on Me was not within my realm of expectations there.
What did we think, by the way, just generally everyone about the song choices? Not the score, but just all the real music that they brought in. Good that they did that. Was it too much? Did we
No
like
lie.
it? Did we like it?
I have been identifying people saying they didn't like it, and in my brain, filing them away as psychos. Honest to God, I had for me, the standout one, very first one, when they're doing their little Brooklyn platforming scene, that
sleep
hit
till
me
Brooklyn.
so hard. I had an out-of-body experience, and I saw reviews for this movie that were rolling their eyes at that moment, and I filed them away as a psycho. So,
that started playing in that moment, and I said, okay, I love that we're really pushing the Brooklyn. I love that.
Yeah, having that Brooklyn setting actually helps make it feel more natural than it might have otherwise. It did feel a little jarring to me at first, but I got used to it. I mostly liked how the music was incorporated. I don't think it was too much either. It actually was less than I expected.
Yeah.
There's more Mario music in here by far than there is licensed music, and I think they found a really good balance.
That's one thing too. The licensed music does not overstay its welcome. like none of those songs play for
No,
like an
they're brief.
entire.
Yeah.
They're brief, and it's pretty good in that case, I think.
Also,
you guys-
hearing Thunderstruck in a Mario movie.
Thunderstruck was my favorite one.
Yeah, it's so good. Never expect. I did not see that coming. Did not see that coming.
I'm just like, you
you
can save
feel-
so much money if you don't use AC/DC though. So like, why would you even?
Well, no, they're giving out Thunderstruck. They're giving it out. That one's all, yeah. But did anybody else feel like the choice of music based on the era it was from kind of showed their cards a little bit, that this
It did,
wasn't
totally.
just a movie for kids?
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know what I mean? I was surprised that there wasn't a single like Katy Perry in this. I was really expecting that.
I feel
Right.
a part of it feels like they just added that music just so like the parents who don't care about Mario dragging their kids to the theater are just like, oh, I remember this song. I'm feeling a little bit of dopamine right now. I don't know. That's the only way I see like this. Like that's the only way I ever think about music when it's thrown into a kids movie, unless it's Shrek 2. So
You know, Shrek 2 is actually why I felt, what's that song we're talking about? I Need a Hero or whatever.
Yeah, Hero.
Why it felt a little weak to me in this one, because I felt like they hadn't quite earned it at this point, whereas like Shrek 2 uses it majestically.
first
Like,
of all,
you-
there's no better version of that song than the one in
Shrek
Shrek
2.
2.
Yeah,
We're all in
agreed.
agreement.
Correct.
but even then, there is a hierarchy to this. Like, Short Circuit 2 also used a song amazingly in the climax, and so Mario has it like halfway through, and it doesn't even make as much sense contextually, because Mario needs to go rescue Luigi, and I guess Peach kind of needs a backup hero too, but not really so much at this point in the movie. Like at this point in the movie, she doesn't even know who Mario is. She doesn't even know who this guy is, what he can do, and she doesn't know that she needs him by the end. And so that's why I felt like they hadn't quite earned it. I felt like that was almost a little cheap to me. I still liked it though, and it bothered me less the second time. So
I remember you saying that in the spoiler-free discussion, like hearing you say that, and I was listening to the movie, I was like, which song was Andre talking about? And now that totally makes sense. I get it. Yeah.
Yep.
I say.
We all agree Cranky Kong kind of blew, right?
Oh.
We all agree.
what's funny is I tweeted about this today, and then I think it
Yeah.
was Tim Geddes over at Kind of Funny replied to me with taking everyone else at Kind of Funny who saw the movie, being like, we all agreed that he was weird. Anyone here
was it
likes
just
it?
us?
Strange.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't
Just weird,
like.
yeah.
I'll admit, I don't know if I would have like, because I read your tweet too, Andre, before I saw the movie. I don't know if I would have noticed.
It could have affected it. Yeah.
It could have, but yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't get. He sounded so. I get he's a king. He's supposed to sound like theatrical and whatnot, but somebody should have told Fred Armisen to tone it down a little bit. You know.
It
Yeah.
wasn't even like Fred Armisen's normal voice, too.
No,
like
it wasn't.
He made a strong decision. And I was trying to track where that decision was coming from. I said to Andre in our prior discussion, I felt like they wanted Jeff Goldblum and couldn't get him or something. Because it was like a very, and I think the biggest thing for me is that it's a character named Cranky, and he didn't have what you would immediately associate as like a cranky voice.
Yeah.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah, I
not
was,
at all.
yeah.
That's like the weirdest thing too. Of like Cranky Kong's character is so different in this than what he is in the Mario and Donkey Kong
Yeah.
universe that he feels like a completely different character here. To be honest, that the voice itself didn't bother me. It was the entire characterization that the whole time I couldn't believe this was Cranky. Believing it was just some like King of the Kingdom, that's fine. But every time it was specifically addressed to be Cranky, just felt very strange to me because
Why is he a king?
Yeah.
Why is he a king? Why?
I could see how it happened because Fred Armisen is funny. And when the original cast was announced way back when they said Fred Armisen is Cranky Kong, I was like, cool. Oh, that's gonna be funny.
I could see it. I could see it, right?
yeah,
You could
so-
totally see it. Not
Exactly.
the performance you expect.
So I think they probably just kind of handed it to him, and
Yeah.
it's not a very significant role in the movie.
yeah.
And so, anyways, yeah, but that was the one. That was like the one. And also, though, there's a moment where Cranky Kong calls out Diddy Kong.
Yeah, I was gonna reference that. I was,
You were gonna say that too?
I was gonna say that. I love that he did that. Like just
Yeah.
DK's hype man, Diddy. I love that. Continue
such a
what
nice
you're gonna say
little
though.
I was gonna say like to me, I love the moment, but it sounded like Diddy Kong's voice there was just Keegan Michael Key Toad voice. Did anyone hear that?
I
Yeah.
thought so too.
Yeah.
I actually forgot to check. I think it might have been. It was
Yeah.
so similar. Yeah.
It was so quick, so I'm sure they're just like, hey, can you just throw away this line,
Yep.
and then we'll just change the pitch like a little bit to make it different or something. But doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I see Diddy getting probably a recast if he reappears in a future movie.
Oh, he will be 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we think of all the other voices? Like, obviously Chris Pratt was a big question going into the movie, and I almost forgot it was Chris Pratt watching it. I'm like, I thought he was fit in.
Everything was fine about the voices. And Cranky Kong is like, it was weird, but it was inoffensive, like at worst. It was, everybody just blew it all out of proportion like the internet always does.
Of course.
It was fine, everyone. Calm down.
I think Peach, far and above that actress. I'm not even like a big fan of her. I don't know her from a lot of stuff. And I walked out of this being like, dude, I'm a fan of you. Absolutely killed it. Chris Pratt in animated roles in the past, I have not liked him. Thought he was not a good voice actor. In this one, I did.
Oh, wow.
So honestly, tip of the cap. I thought he did a lot of different fun things as Mario. But it's like a weird thing where it's like you're asking yourself kind of, are they being this character that you have imagined in your head enough, and then but also are they making the most of the moments that they get? And I think a lot of the characters in this movie didn't really get line read moments that were big moments. Like, that's not how the movie was structured. Not like there weren't, you know what I mean? There weren't like crescendoing music building up to something that somebody is saying.
Yeah.
Right.
So once you kind of heard a voice and knew how they were doing it, you pretty much had experienced everything that person was going to do, except for, I really do think Peach put it over the top. I thought Peach did a lot of different things. Yeah, that really impressed me. So yeah, maybe in the future, would love to see more from Charlie Day. Would love to see more from Toad. The whole gang, really. Yeah.
We've been talking about the Kongs a fair amount recently. I'm curious, what did you all think of the Mario Kart connection with them making basically the origin of Mario Kart's story? It seems like. Did anyone bump up against that? Were you fine with it? What did you think?
It was fine. Like, I didn't think like anything about it. I was just like, okay, this is how we're doing it. This is how we're introducing Mario Kart into it. Fine. I really don't see like why anyone would really have a problem with it. Like, it was fine.
I actually really liked it. I actually really liked it.
Jake did the giggle. What is Jake gonna complain about now?
No, I want to hear what Tris thinks.
Okay.
I actually really liked it because when you really look at what the Kongs are usually depicted with, it's always like minecarts. Like, usually you get something a bit more jungle themed. You get the minecarts. Maybe a lot of people pictured that what we got in the Jungle Kingdom here would have, instead of carts, been minecarts everywhere. But I actually really like how they went with the carts here because they weren't anywhere else. It's not like Peach had her own private go-kart that she was ready to drive. Not like Toad had his own private little vehicle he took Mario to the castle in. It's not something that was everywhere. It was something that the Kongs specially made for them. And I think they really established what the Kong society in the Jungle Kingdom was like in this movie, despite being very different to what the expectations are in any other Mario or Donkey Kong game. I think it was actually very well established, and I enjoyed that they had this level of technology. I thought it was very silly, but it was very fun.
It was a little jarring to me at first, but I got over it pretty quickly, and I do like, there are two reasons I kind of like the tie-in. One, they immediately had the banana connection, which caused a crash, and I'm like, okay, that's a cute way of recontextualizing a key Mario Kart item. But also was the fact that, Donkey Kong is well known for mine carts.
Yep.
Why not go-karts? And that's kind of how they tie,
Yeah.
I guess that's probably how they got to that, I'm guessing. And you know what? I'm fine with it. It's kind of cute and fun how they got there. And again, as long as they don't ask yourself too many questions throughout the movie, I think it's just a great time throughout.
One of my favorite moments of music in the movie from the soundtrack or the music pulled from Mario games is when they're starting to build their carts for the first time. It's the cart customization music from Mario Kart 8, I think.
Yes.
It is.
And like that was a really deep cut. Like, I guess it's not that deep, but just like to hear basically like the menu music.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, that's cool. Because they pull stuff like the underwater theme from the first Mario and the Bowser theme, whatever. But like using the menu screen music, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that they did that. That was also something I was not expecting. I thought there was going to be some sort of like Donkey Kong related music or some general Mario Kart music, like the theme playing softer than starting to kick in, but the fact that they went with like a little bit of the menu theme there, I thought was a really nice touch.
Really cool moment of Toad having fun with it. That like stuck in my mind. Like he's on the dials, Mario looks at him, and Toad's like, "Oh yeah," and, that was sweet. Yeah.
You know what? I noticed my second time through. It's just like there are so many little touches here that I'm gonna probably have to really pick up on when I go back to watch it on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. But yeah, there's just tons of little moments like that. Like when Mario's first introduced to the Mushroom Kingdom, and Mario I think bumps into someone, or they drop a coin, and Mario picks it up for him. It's just a small little moment, but it's like that is Mario. Like that's what he would do, And there's tons of little touches like that throughout the movie that I can't even fully appreciate without again going like frame by frame through this. And I love that. Also, we haven't touched on the Mario Kart sequence, like the Rainbow Road portion itself.
I wanted to bring that up. I love that whole section. I thought that section was so cool. I love how you got a little bit of focus on a bunch of different characters doing different things. But I love the blue shell moment. That was so well done. And I also, I looked over at my partner when that happened, and I'm like, Nintendo did it. They have erased it canonically being called the spiny shell. They now are calling it the blue shell.
Yeah.
It is
I noticed it
officially
too.
the blue shell.
Thank you. that is, if this movie has any lasting impact, it better be that.
Yeah, I like that moment too, Tris. I feel like there were two sections in this movie that made me go, oh man, kind of wish the game steal some of this stuff. And the Mario, like, in the platforming stuff, when there's like a lot more parkour and like small kind of like Uncharted-esque actions happening, I was like, oh, I kind of like this actually. But then in the Mario Kart, I felt like they're seeing Mario even just like jump between the cars and like the pace of the game. I really liked when Peach like manually deactivated the gravity on the wheels and like fell down. I was like, man, there's like a degree of options here that the Mario games, because they are like accessible and simple in a way, they don't have that, and it made my imagination just like go crazy, being like, whoa, you could do a lot of cool stuff if you really wanted to.
If you could manually control the gliding, the anti-grav with all that you can make some really cool tricks.
You're spoiling my upcoming short, Tris. But yes, I fully agree with all that. Actually, Jake, if you like the parkour elements, you should play Super Mario Run. It actually is quite a bit of parkour. It's a surprisingly great Mario game. And I agree, having more control over those Mario Kart elements will be amazing. And there's one scene, too, that's so easy, it happens so quickly you can entirely miss it, is Peach uses the hovercraft mode to drive across water on top of the water. Yeah, like,
so good.
Love it.
I caught that this time, too, and I was like, whoa, if there was like a meter or something that controlled how much you could use that, I was thinking about it in my head. I was like, dude, this is Mario Kart X. Let's do it. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, that whole sequence, of course, leads to something we had not seen at all before, being the giant eel from Mario 64.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was... Yeah, well, the sequence itself, how quick they were inside the eel and stuff is... I think we already kind of...
We touched on that a little bit, but...
Conceptually, bringing back the eel was super cool.
Especially this giant, like, menacing beast, and they end up in it, like, inside it, like, Pinocchio.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that it was, my first viewing, I missed that Donkey Kong had used one of those rockets already on his car, and that was the other one from his car. I was like, whoa, in a movie that sometimes struggles with object permanence, this was actually a good little, like, sequence for this car here, going from here to here to here. We saw it all happen. We see the car get eaten before Mario and Donkey Kong. So, nice little sequence. Yeah.
All right. Any other key points we need to address?
I want to bring up the lead up to the wedding. Specifically, such as...
We haven't touched on the wedding.
Yeah, we haven't touched on the wedding.
Oh.
But before we touch on the wedding, I need to stress how much I love the scene of Bowser. He had, like, the hat, he had, like, the bouquet of piranha plants, practicing his vows and practicing proposing, and to Kamek dressed as Peach. Yeah. That was, like, from one game, I think it was New Super Mario Bros. Wii, where Kamek pretends to be Peach. And, you defeated Bowser, and... Peach turns around the cage. No, it's actually Kamek.
I forgot about that.
That was such a deep cut.
It was such a good reference.
Bros. Wii.
Yep. No, I love that they did that, and then someone comes in and interrupts them. It was so funny. I love that.
Kamek, by the way, is perfect in this movie.
Yes.
Perfect voice, perfect characterization. Love it.
Yes.
Andre, did you catch the little dance that I told you to look
I was specifically watched out for it. That's adorable. It's like little so good.
So funny. God,
man.
But the wedding,
The wedding.
King Babam King
All right,
Boo.
hold on one second. I
King
just want to let
Boo.
you guys know I gotta head out. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the discussion.
King Boo, they're at the wedding. I feel like King Babam had like a funny texture to him that I was like, whoa, this guy looks crazy. And then Peach murders him.
Yeah,
Murder.
straight up.
He's dead.
Ignites him. And
We will not see him in the sequel because he's
Yeah.
dead.
How exactly
So-
did that happen again? Something flew by. And
So
got
she-
the-
Spear.
Yeah, the
she
spear.
lights the spear on fire and then
Yes.
throws it, lighting his fuse. Yeah.
That was brilliant. I audibly reacted to that. It was amazing.
Did
Like, I
anybody
mean-
else feel like she uses that ice flower, gets those powers? Both times in my head, I went, "Is this too close to Frozen?"
that actually had not crossed my mind, but now that you mention it.
When she took on the ice flower, in my head I was thinking, I'm actually glad she's in the wedding dress and not her normal dress because I feel like she would look a little too close to Rosalina in her normal dress with the ice flower. So I actually think that's why they did it when she was in the wedding outfit, so she wouldn't look too
That
similar.
worked out well, yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I think at least.
Again, too, I remember initially we weren't even sure if power-ups are going to appear in the movie, and I really do like that they just fully embraced them. They went all in. I would say they're almost in here, maybe just a little too much, but that's a minor nitpick. I really just appreciate their incorporation and that they used them well in a way that made sense and seemed faithful to the games.
Yeah, it's
Were
funny.
there any- Were there any power-ups that they missed, like major ones? I don't
Oh,
think so.
I think, yeah, the frog suit, hammer suit, you know.
Yeah, okay. I knew there were like
Helicopter.
some pretty significant ones that weren't
Yeah.
there, but I think the
They got
ones
most of the big ones, most of the iconic
Yeah.
ones.
Sorry,
Even the
go
superstar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Jake.
It's funny. I almost feel like before the movie came out, I remember asking you guys like, what is gonna happen when how do you dramatize or show what happens when Mario eats a mushroom? Like, what is that? What is what? And
they did it.
No, he just gets bigger. He becomes big, and it's that simple.
Yeah.
And it worked, and it wasn't super weird. And I think that I was really paying attention to this time when I saw the movie, the size of the characters in relationship to things in the world, especially when they were in Brooklyn.
Yep.
And I feel like they just nailed it because Mario is a little, Pillsbury Doughboy, but he still fits in the world and it works and everything is made, I think, with thinking about how it relates to him first, maybe. And when he gets big, he does seem big, but he's still not giant Mario,
No.
or anything
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, so just a lot of, I think, really well done design work that I think is so well done, you might not even notice how good it is. Yeah.
Well, to that point, we had literally seen Super Mario in the trailers without even realizing it then. Because during the training montage, he eats a mushroom and he's Big Mario. And we had no idea.
true.
We had no freaking idea
Dang.
until the actual movie came out and found out. So
That's true. 'cause
Should have
he's
got
the
out the ruler.
Yeah, exactly. He's the because he looks the exact same. Like
Yeah.
in some of the games,
proportionally, yeah.
he's smaller, but he's also
Yeah.
squished
He's,
down
mini, yeah.
vertically.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was handled super great too.
And he actually eats the mushrooms in this case, which he hadn't done
does.
in the games. And yeah,
It's not
again,
just
he
like
hates
a-
them. Yeah.
Another thing the games should take. I want to see that animation.
Yeah, throws it up.
Exactly.
Cool.
I'm curious, again, back to the King Babam thing real quick. I'm curious how if he's a king, King Boo's a king, Bowser's a king, where are their kingdoms at? What is we've seen
Yeah.
some geography, but what's going on in their kingdoms, And who's
Dark
king
side.
now?
That's true.
Are there just the two kind of universes? It's the real world and the Mushroom Kingdom universe, and then there's different kingdoms in the Mushroom Kingdom universe, or are they all
Yeah, I don't know.
different realms entirely?
Oh, that's
man.
true, because you're right. We do have the idea of the warp pipe giving us access to things that are not on the map.
Yep.
So you could,
Yeah.
you could, in theory, in a future thing, be here's this whole other place that's still pretty Mario, but it's not. That's why it wasn't in the first movie.
Yep.
I do feel like
Yeah.
that is probably a trick they will pull. I mean, who knows? Bowser, obviously a colonizer. He knows no bounds. He's gonna
Nope.
keep going.
I
Yeah.
definitely think King Boo and King Babam are other king, they're other leaders that he conquered, so to say, and they joined him basically. They still got to keep their status as their roles for their people, but they still answered to Bowser.
It's cool that they were invited to the wedding. Like Bowser has like evil friends. Like I don't know. I'm into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. I did not expect to see King Bomb here, even though there is a brief cameo of Bomb Battlefield early on. And what did we think of the action sequence involving Mario around this point, where he's flying around the Tanuki suit? He's like deflecting the giant Banzai Bill. How did we?
I want to stress about that with the Banzai Bill. I want to know if I was the only one thinking this. When they showed that he was sending it for the pipe, I thought it was going to destroy the pipe and trap them there. And
I thought that too.
And
yeah.
it was going to be a case of, are you sure you didn't want to go back home, or that this was what you want, and it was, he has Luigi, that's all he needs, and he wants to stick around and help. I thought it was going to build up to that, not the explosion makes the pipe go crazy and sucks everyone back to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I really didn't expect them to go back to Brooklyn at all during the climax. Maybe in the ending, but I really thought
didn't either. But I love that they did for two reasons. One, the Super Show did that, loved it then, loved it now. But also, it's another callback, maybe unintentionally, maybe intentionally, I don't know, to the original Mario movie, where that's also how it ends in a way.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, I really thought
yeah.
the Banzai Bill was going to destroy the pipe and trap them there, not what actually happened.
Right.
I thought he was just saying, sorry, Brooklyn, and just sending a huge, bomb their way.
My partner
funny,
leaned over to me and said the same thing. He's like, oh my god, he's sending that thing to Brooklyn.
Take this, Dad.
Exactly.
That's funny. I kind of thought it was just the realm between worlds, but I do think in that final sequence, a little too much Tanuki suit for me. As
fair.
I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the Tanuki suit. Maybe this is just because of my age, but even if it was like the wing cap, I might have been a little bit more into it. But yeah, I was a little surprised at how for a movie that is so intensely focused on fidelity to the games, I was like, man, this Tanuki suit is a little OP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I definitely agree. I also think just a more dynamic and interesting version of that scene, because that's also Mario's last scene of the movie really using a power-up, right? Like,
yeah.
Besides a superstar.
And
Yeah.
so just as a culmination of everything, and Andre, to your point that there's kind of power blocks everywhere, or question blocks, like I think a more interesting version of that might have been he's escaping the Banzai Bill, that's what it's called,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And grabbing different power-ups as he goes. So, elevates with the propeller, and then grabs another one. Ooh, floats down with the leaf, and then, grabs another one. And just like,
Oh, that's a
really
fun
kind of
idea, switching it up
playing with the
constantly.
environment,
Yeah.
going
Crazy
through and
8,
switching
Crazy
it up.
8.
Yeah, like the Crazy
Give him
Mario
the-
Kart.
Oh, that's
give
cool.
him
And then they're all spinning around.
That would have been a cool way to
Yeah.
incorporate a lot of power-ups. I was actually
Yeah.
hoping something like that would have happened in the climactic battle against Bowser before getting the superstar. I was hoping we would have seen like a bunch of power-ups at once, whether it was Mario switching between a bunch of them, Luigi finally getting to use something other than a star, of course, or like Peach, Toad, DK, Mario, each with a different power. I was hoping that Climax would have given a lot more emphasis on them, kind of a bringing your all in the battle against Bowser, but they didn't. But it's okay that they didn't, but I think it would have been really cool if they did.
I will say I did love, though, how when they do get to New York and when you do see the bros start working together, and they reunited, they're working together, like when you find out like Luigi's holding back the flames, I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is where it's coming to a head, and this is when they get the superstar shortly thereafter, then they become invincible and they fling Bowser off like a Mario 64. I think it's interesting that with us having so many decades of experience with this Mario series, with any number of permutations this movie could have taken. We could sit here and give 100 different versions of any number of scenes, and the fact that they arrived on a sequence of events that we all agree is still amazing in the end, I think says a lot about the competency of this film in general. The fact, maybe I would have done it this way, or maybe I would prefer this, but the fact we still had a great time throughout, and it seems like most Mario fans are, unlike the 93 film, I think really does speak to the strengths of this movie in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a clarification about the Power Star situation.
Please.
Is it a Mario 64 star?
Nope.
Nope.
I thought it was initially.
It's just a power
it's a
star,
superstar.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
superstar,
I
not
guess
a power star, which is
So Bowser's just gonna grab it and then get
Yep.
really strong and just punch everything.
Don't think about it too long.
Exactly.
Don't think about
think-
it. It's a symbol. It's a
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the movie's MacGuffin, of course,
Yeah.
which we always knew, but it's perhaps more so than we expected. Like, I thought it was gonna be more of a gauntlet glove type thing where you need to grab like a bunch of power stars to do anything, but no, just the one, which I think is interesting because what that does suggest then is that this thing is super rare in this universe, if not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can't always be a get out of jail free card for whoever has it because, or whoever wants it because it's not really there. So did we find out, like, did it go away at the end? Did it end up somewhere?
I was just about to ask, do we know what happened to it after Mario and Luigi used it?
My
does it disappear?
headcanon is that it is a Dragon Ball Z situation, and once you use it, it
goes
goes
somewhere
off
else.
into the world, and you gotta
Yeah.
find it again. That's my
I love
headcanon.
it.
Oh, great. Mayor
Nice.
Pauline's going to
The
find it
Triforce
somewhere
thing.
in Brooklyn.
Which
Can't believe it.
actually here is our final point. That's a great tie-in, Tris, because of course we had the post-credits with Yoshi at the end.
Yep.
Where do they go with the sequel? What do you think they can do in a sequel? What do you want to see in a sequel? Obviously Yoshi's going to be involved, but what do you expect his role to be, and what else do you think we can expect from Mario 2?
I was talking to my partner about this on like the car ride back, because obviously the thing is, what do you build up to that makes Yoshi a big player but maybe not, the focus character? Like, where do you go from here? Like, they have Bowser kept in a bird cage, they have now a connection back to the real world, they have Yoshi. What are they gonna do from there? And we started thinking, I think they might, kind of like how this one has a bunch of stories, and one like it has a bit of Odyssey, it has a bit of the original Mario. I think we might see something that actually involves leaving just this little planetoid of the Mushroom Kingdom and then Donkey Kong stuff. I think we're gonna see like where Lumily comes from. We're gonna see stuff with Galaxy, get a little bit of Galaxy 2 action in there in terms of Yoshi's role with it all. So get a little bit of Mario Galaxy 2 stuff in there, but I think we can incorporate some sort of like intergalactic threat in quotes, because I don't know what they would actually go with, but something that, since they have Bowser, something that gets Bowser to work with them, I think is actually what we're gonna see. Instead of he escapes and immediately becomes the villain yet again.
Interesting.
Which he could do at the end of the movie, but
Yeah, I'm kind of going the other way, Tris. I'm going
Okay.
the other way because for me, if we're thinking about Yoshi as the key player here, we already have in this movie the character who is often depicted as Yoshi's biggest antagonist in Kamek.
Yep.
And yeah, so I feel like there's already a little synergy happening there. But because to me, it's about, okay, my leader, who I am super attached to, has been captured. I've got to somehow free him, get to him, carry out his wishes. Who is the next baddest person? I know. I'm gonna get my own Super Mario Brothers, Wario and Waluigi. I'm gonna put them in my employ. And that's how we're gonna get Bowser. Yeah, and the Yoshi thing, I kind of feel like is just I don't think it's gonna be that important.
No, same.
come the sequel
No.
of the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's just a tease he'll be there. Is really
I think it'll be a fun thing for us to do like at the beginning of the next movie. You know what I mean? Like they're just like hanging out with Yoshi and like treating him like a little pet. But that's where I see it going. I think Kamek, we're gonna get our own bad Super Mario Brothers, Wario, Waluigi. Makes sense to me.
Oh, there's one thing about Yoshi I want to mention real quick that we forgot to earlier, and that is the post-credit scene works in a meta sense because it's actually a reference to Godzilla 1998, which had, I think it was a trailer that had an egg, like a teaser trailer that had an egg in the sewers of New York, I believe. So it's kind of funny if you recognize that, but it's such an old reference that I only remembered it when I read that somewhere else. I'm like, oh, I actually do remember that now. So I don't know if they're playing, I don't know if that's going to play potentially a bigger factor into the sequel. I doubt it. Like, maybe Yoshi's a Godzilla type thing in this world or whatever. Maybe it grows out of control in, outside the Mushroom Kingdom. Probably not. But what I'm looking forward to is I wonder if they're going to have a breakout sequence, like to break Bowser out of his little jail cell, And maybe that's where we get Bowser Jr. We found out he did have a kid, who was just off screen originally, and he's coming for the rescue.
There was a moment in the movie when all the clown cars came in.
Yep.
And I really thought it was the Koopa Kids.
Oh, that was amazing.
During the Mario Kart.
But we know the Koopa Kids exist to some degree because the piano said Ludwig on it. The
That's
piano
true.
said
It
Ludwig
did.
on Koopa. So the Koopalings are somewhere. They're
I didn't know
somewhere.
that.
That could just be a Beethoven joke.
I mean,
I was thinking
that
that
could
too, though.
I think I
Yeah.
saw it
Probably,
and I
but-
just assumed that's what it was, but
Yeah.
that makes sense though too.
It could be both.
Um,
Could be both.
Yeah, I think Wario and Waluigi is a great way to take the next one, but I also think Galaxy is a good way to take it too. Go open up the world itself some more.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the main thing. I saw it with my girlfriend who really loved it, and she's not as big a Nintendo Mario fan as I am. And she loved it just as much as me, which is really cool.
That's good.
But the main character she wishes was there was Rosalina.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, I would love to see Rosalina." And I think Rosalina is a character that a lot of people know about for some reason. I think she's pretty iconic.
Chris, that's so funny. I saw it with my fiance, and we got out, and she's like, "Who was that little weirdo? What was he doing in this movie? Why did he get so many lines?" I was like, "Yeah."
How we not talked about the Luma Lee? I loved him. He is hilarious. At the second screening last night, the entire audience was losing it over every line he had. And what I like too is, one of the commenters to me on Twitter had mentioned that he felt he was like a little cliche, or he'd seen that type of character before. I haven't, so it didn't stand out to me in that sense. But I like too that if you accept him, if you know of what they are from the games, you realize they're this really cosmic entity. So it kind of makes sense. He had this really divorced perspective on things, and I really just loved every element about him. I thought it was hilarious.
I loved the fact that Luma Lee left the cage at one point and went back in. Luma Lee had no reason to be there.
He could have skipped the entire time. Yeah. He could have skipped the entire time.
You can't escape life. Only through death, baby. You gotta, yeah.
Great character.
No, but especially like with Luma Lee being there, as dark as Luma Lee was, with Luma Lee being there, with Peach's mention of like, there's a whole lot of worlds and galaxies out there. I do think Galaxy or something related to space is going to be in the sequel.
Wait,
I think
really
so.
Really quick though, Andre, you of course know my actual theory of the next movie is that we're getting a Kid Icarus movie next.
That'd be amazing.
I'm not even kidding. Not even kidding. The choice to have Mario play Kid Icarus when he could have been playing anything feels like one of those things that in the future we're gonna go, oh, that was a nod. And Kid Icarus, especially given the characters, the voices, the whole story focus of it.
They've had shorts.
That's it. Slam dunk, dude. Slam dunk.
It sounds like a potential short idea in the future, Jake.
Does
I like
that
it.
sound like money, Jake?
Oh no, it definitely sounds like money. Yeah.
That actually reminded me of one other point. I want to bring up, super minor thing, a little bit of a missed opportunity. Not that I'm heartbroken over it, but one of the things Miyamoto has said is he looks at the Mario cast as being actors. Like he thinks of them as being acting in a play, and they just pop up wherever they need them and whatever role it is, like Mario Kart or as doctors and Dr. Mario. And I felt like it was a missed opportunity not to do the Toy Story 2 thing where you have outtakes at the end in various scenes from the movie, right? Wouldn't that have been
like Mario Tennis?
Yeah, exactly. Right, Mario Tennis had outtakes. Yeah.
Fire these people, Andre. God, that's such a good idea. Oh,
like
my
Mario
God,
jumping into
so
like a boom mic or something, Right. Oh man.
They even could have done one where it like has like the set dressing from that one Mario game where you can like see the curtains or whatever.
Mario 3.
And then oh my God, that's such a great idea. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I was actually, when I thought of it, I'm like, dang, it must have come up. Someone must have mentioned it at some point, and for whatever reason it didn't get through. But yeah. Okay, before we wrap it up, I think we covered the sequel ideas fairly well. If you have more, feel free. But I want to end on, what do you think this movie did best? Like, we all love the movie. We've had some critiques throughout, but I want to end on a really strong note. What is your favorite thing about the Mario movie? Where did it succeed that other video game adaptations have failed?
Someone else go. Someone else.
Specifically
I'm
when they
cooking.
fail.
I'm cooking. I'm cooking. Yeah, I'm cooking.
We're gonna play
Did
the
somebody
Jeopardy
say
thing.
Chris, or was it Tris?
I cannot tell.
I said both. Chris, go for it. Give us something.
Okay, I'll give us something. I would say it's my favorite thing about it was just that it presents the world that I grew up with and that we all love so much in such an unapologetic, like, you don't feel like there's any hesitation, like there's any defensiveness to it.
Right.
They're just like, hey, here we go. They're confident in what it is and presenting that, and not feeling the need to over-explain certain things. Not that it's too complicated to begin with, but not feeling the need to make like self-referencing kind of jokes to talk about how silly and ridiculous this is. Like, there is some of that.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not saying it takes itself like super seriously either. I just think it was very like unapologetic.
I love that point, actually. The Marvel movies do that a lot, where they poke fun at themselves. Like, look at that, that's a silly sounding name, and to try and get us on board with how silly everything is. Yeah, Mario doesn't, Mario maybe has a handful of those, but it doesn't really it doesn't really ever feel like it's making fun of itself. Like, it's unashamed of what it is.
Like, there's the mushroom thing, but that's also because he just doesn't like mushrooms. Like, it's
Right.
not, it's a little different. It's not just
It's
like,
more of a meta
says,
joke
"Eat
at Mario's
mushrooms."
been eating mushrooms for 30 years as we know it in real life.
Yeah,
So it's funny that he doesn't like them, you know?
You raise
Yeah,
a
and so
really
I
good-
appreciated that.
You raise a really good point with the unapologetic confidence to really like be itself, to not be afraid to do anything with it. And I do think that is what this movie did better than a lot of other video game adaptations. I mean, look at Sonic 1 to Sonic 2, for example. Sonic 1 wasn't as heavy in the clear-cut references to the games as Sonic
Right.
2 was. Mario came out the door swinging. It was not afraid to do those from the get-go. Like, from when we watched that first trailer for this movie back in like September, October, whenever that was, nobody thought Mario Kart was gonna play a big role in this. They'll say that for another movie, maybe 2, maybe even 3 down the line. Like that's way too out there to do right away. And the cat suit from Super Mario 3D World. Like, this movie was not afraid to pull from a bunch of different sources. It didn't limit itself to, well, what has been Mario's origins thus far? What's safe to do for an early Mario movie without throwing too much out there? It didn't have any fears with that. It was unapologetically Mario and fan servicey in ways that it wasn't just fan service for the sake of fan service. It was fan service for the sake of everything at our disposal. What can we use to tell what we want to tell without limiting ourselves?
To that point, real quick, like, one of the derisions I've read about is, like, you know, it's just a series of Easter eggs. It's like, no, that's the world building here. That is what Mario is. Like, that is the world. It's not just a series of references. Like, that is literally what this universe needs to be. And I feel like it's just an easy way to criticize, an easy, lazy way to criticize this movie.
Yeah.
So is that your favorite thing then, Tris? Just how... Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Jake? Have you cooked up something?
So I got some stuff for you. So here's what I got. I think the best thing this movie does is that watching this movie made me reflect on how Mario characters, the design of it all, are iconic on a level of Star Wars. I've always thought that, like, the best thing that Star Wars does is they create iconic, memorable imagery. Whether or not it's, like, good is one thing, but man, they make things that really stick with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this movie, they understand Mario and Nintendo stuff in a way that, it's funny, people say, like, everybody has a favorite Pokemon, and I kind of feel like everybody has a favorite Mario thing, and like, in this movie, you got, like, to feel like your favorite thing was special. And they represented it in a way that worked, and I think kind of supplementing that, anytime characters were running, jumping, using power-ups, racing, doing things that you do in the Mario games, it looked really fluid and exciting and fun and imaginative in a way that wasn't just copying the video games.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, The Last of Us show.
The action sequences, Jake, are just fantastic. I thought in this movie, and real quick, not to interrupt your point, but The Last of Us, like, that's heralded as one of the best video game adaptations. But I feel like you look at that, and it almost feels a little it almost feels a little ashamed of having video game origins. Like, you could almost trace that back to the video game itself. Like, it felt like it wanted to be more than what it was, and I felt that more in the show, where they're kind of straying away from the game-like elements. Not that you need to see every game element, but anyways, Mario did not get that feling at all.
Yeah.
Was there a GameXplain discussion about The Last of Us, like a review or anything? I want to hear that. This is good.
I think,
the people aren't ready. The people aren't ready for what I have to say about that show. They're not ready. Like,
man, now I'm curious. But Jake, did you have a coda for that thought, or were you wrapped up there?
Oh yeah, I just think S tier icon. S tier icons. Yeah.
I love it. No, that's great. I think you all had some awesome points because I wanted to touch on all of those. Cool. And I really do like the idea of, like, Mario being that on the same level as Star Wars. But I feel like you're right. Like, whether it's visually or sound design, like, there's so many great little sound touches in this movie, both with music and sound effects, in such subtle ways too. They don't always even realize what's happening, and I thought it was great. I guess for me, I would say, I think just the way they characterized most of the cast. Like, I really, aside from a handful, namely Cranky Kong, I really loved how they portrayed these characters like Mario on the big screen. Like, one of the complaints that we've heard over the years is Mario's a blank slate. He has no personality.
Nope.
And yet he had a personality in this movie, and it felt true to whatever you think of Mario in the games. It's like, yeah, that's Mario, and he clearly isn't just a blank slate here. Like, he actually does have his own motives, his own reactions to things. He felt like a character, obviously not a particularly deep character, but I thought it was enough of one to carry this film, and I loved it. I thought, like, yeah, that's the Mario I know. And I think also, you know, again, to Chris Pratt's credit, I think he did a great job imbuing him with his liveliness and energy that we expect from him. So I think the movie producers did a great job in just realizing everything about the Mario universe in such a beautiful way on screen.
Definitely.
All right. Well, there it is, everyone. The end of our very long, spoiler-filled Mario discussion. I truly hope you watch the movie before watching this. Otherwise, we just ruined it for you. I'm sure it's still a fun watch, but it's been fun discussing it. Let us know what you think of our comments or let us know what you think of what we thought in the comments. We want to hear what do you think of the movie. Are there any points that stuck with you, whether positive or negative? Let us know. And with that, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for tons more. And real quick, Chris, since you haven't been here for a little while, can you tell people where they can follow you at if they want to see more from you?
Yeah, well, first off, sorry it got very dark in here. I hope I haven't been super, dark this entire time.
Yeah, what are you,
But,
Luma Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can find me, I guess the main place is probably on Twitter. My handle is CCMediaChris. And I think there might be some underscores somewhere in there, but it's pretty big. But yeah, I post updates on the film stuff I'm doing, as well as my thoughts on gaming stuff. So that's where I keep in touch most with most of you guys here. So that's where you can find me. Yeah. But Andre, thanks so much for having me on. This was really a blast.
It's been great having you on again, just like old times.
like old
so
times.
if you want,
Yeah, I missed it.
If you want to follow Chris, you can find the links in the description below. Otherwise, stay tuned to GameXplain for, I'm sure, tons more on the Mario movie. We have like an endless stream of ideas, I think, for this thing. So stay tuned, and with that, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.